Okay, let's start with just the first two laws on our list, which should look familiar if you watched our video called Exponents in Algebra. They're just the two rules we learned in that video. You know, rules, laws, same difference. So you probably already know them. They simply tell us that anything raised to the first power is itself, and anything raised to the 0th power is just 1. And because we already know about exponents that are higher integer values, like x to the second and x to the third, that means we've pretty much got things covered, right? Ah, not so fast. Don't forget that integers can have negative values too. For example, what if we had the expression x to the power of -1, or -2, or -3? We know that exponents are a way of doing repeated multiplication. But how in the world could you multiply something together a negative number of times? Well, you can't. Fortunately, the next law on our list tells us how to interpret a negative exponent. That law says x to the -nth power equals 1 divided by x to the nth power. And if you think about it, that kind of makes sense. A negative number is the inverse of its positive counterpart. And division is the inverse operation of multiplication, right? So a negative exponent is basically repeated division. X to the -1 would be 1 divided by x. X to the -2 would be 1 divided by x divided by x. X to the -3 would be 1 divided by x divided by x divided by x, and so on. Seeing it like this makes the pattern clear, but mathematicians prefer to express negative exponents in fraction form, where 1 is divided by the same number of x's multiplied together. But since those multiplied x's are all on the bottom of the fraction, you're actually dividing by all of them. Here's an example that will help you see that that's true. 2 to the -3rd power. Let's first try that as a repeated division problem like our pattern shows us. We always start with a 1, so we would have 1 divided by 2 divided by 2 divided by 2. If we do those operations from left to right using a calculator, we get 0.125 as the answer. Now let's write it in fraction form like our law of exponents tells us we can. 2 to the -3rd power would be the same as 1 divided by 2 to the 3rd power. And that's the same as 1 over 2 times 2 times 2, which simplifies to 1 over 8, and 1 over 8 simplifies to 0.125. See, whether you write it as a pattern of repeated division, or in fraction form, like our inverse law shows, you get the same answer. And now you know how to handle any expression with a negative exponent. It's just 1 over the same expression with a positive exponent. X to the -1 is 1 over x to the +1, or just 1 over x. X to the -2 is 1 over x to the +2. X to the -3 is 1 over x to the +3, and so on. All right, 3 laws.